So hello and welcome to Revize's second webinar of 2022, Elevating Your Local Gov Social Media Presence. We're so glad that you could join us here today. This webinar is taking place March 9th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So some brief housekeeping before we go ahead and get started. There's going to be a recorded version of the webinar on the Revize site after. So don't worry about missing any information, or if there happens to be any technical difficulties, we got your back. We have the on-demand version on the site after. Along with that, there's going to be a Q&A after the webinar too. And we are going to, the best way to keep up with us is to follow us on social media to keep up with upcoming webinars. About us before we get started, we've been around for over 20 years at Revize, and we have a developed and diverse team of incredible employees. We specialize in beautiful and functional web designs for government agencies all across the US. And we're based out of Troy, Michigan. However, we serve government agencies and other industries, not just government agencies, all across the US too. Your host is me, Dani Esterline, Marketing Specialist at Revize. If you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, there is my name. I always like to read articles and and grow my network, so feel free to add me. And let's go through our overview. So social media, I'm going to use this sort of analogy, is it's kind of like an onion and there's lots of layers to peel back. But out of respect for everybody's time, we're just going to speak generally, along with I'm going to share some resources that are going to benefit you. We're going to talk briefly about how to build a social media strategy and campaign for local governments. And then we're going to talk about best practices on all of the platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and then we're going to feature a brief Q&A. Along with these, we'll all have examples from municipalities. So let's go into local government social media strategy. Generally speaking, local government is a different sort of marketing beast than other industries, which I'm sure most of you can attest to. Local government audience and reach is going to be different than for-profit and nonprofit industries, which is why it's so important to identify the stakeholders within a social media campaign, especially for local governments. Generally speaking, stakeholders for local governments will be residents and community peoples. Just again, generally speaking, it can vary from different media campaigns, but this will be the stakeholder for most of the time. So then we're peeling back another onion, we're moving down the ladder. We found our stakeholders, now we need to find the stakeholders platform. So as I'm sure local governments employees know, residents can range from a lot of different types of people. So finding the stakeholders, demographics and psychographics. Demographics are things like age and sex, and psychographics are things like personality and interests. So we're definitely going to see, for example, if we were aiming at targeting to younger residents in the community to volunteer for a cleanup project, we would go through the platform that they're reached at most, which is Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, things like that we know millennials and Gen Z are on more so than other platforms. And then after we're finding the stakeholders platform, an important component is content creation. And we're going to get into some of that as the webinar progresses, and I'm really excited about it. Again, the cherry on the top of the content creation is analytics, promotion, and social distribution as well. So let's talk about stories. Instagram is a very popular platform. It attracts a lot of users from different types of demographics. But that being said, Instagram stories is a proponent. So Instagram stories are essentially when you're on your homepage of Instagram, you'll have people's profile icons and circles, and you'll click it and you'll see a photo. So people have added a story and it shows up for a day or for 24 hours after they posted it. It's not a post, so it doesn't stay permanent. So let's take a look at stories and why they're so important. So here we go, Instagram stories and analytics and every metric that you need to know. So let's talk about understanding Instagram. So this burger icon on the top is going to take you to your settings, your archive, insights, your activity, name tag, saved, close friends, etc. Insights is a great resource as well as your activity. You can see how long you've been on the app, how long you've been working, and Insights sort of track some of the analytics here. The archive is also a good tool to see what you've been posting on the past. It takes you to, for example, if you were to click it today on your local gov, it would take you to a story that you posted on this day a year ago. But let's get back to Insights. So here we go. So when we click this hamburger icon and we click Insights, we can see, very generally speaking, some of the analytics. And this is a great tool for somebody that doesn't necessarily have to have analytics background. It's just a great way to see what sort of content is performing well and what's not. We can see here in this example that the post with balloons has almost double the amount of views as the other posts. So that might be a sign, if when you're looking at your local government Instagram, that you're going to want to share with your audience as well. So also adding a swipe up, a call to action, is a great resource to do, especially when you're posting a story. Something like click here for a link to your website, a link for residents to get some actual information. And now we're going to take a look at a local government leading example, which is City of Monterey, California. You can see that right here on their Instagram. And I'm going to reference the word grid through this webinar, and that essentially means the layout of your Instagram. So City of Monterey has a very cohesive look and feel on their grid. They also have highlights on their page, which I'm going to show you here. So here we can see that they have the highlights, and what this highlights are is after you post a story, you can add them to your highlights on your menu bar. I'm going to talk in just a moment about a sheet that I prepared for this webinar that's going to be a great token. If anything, if you don't take away anything from this, please, make sure that you're taking a look at the Revize social media cheat sheet, because it has a lot of beneficial resources. So we can see that there's some blue colors, blue tones, cohesive look, lots of ocean, animals representative of the area, as well as their highlights have things like stories, food tours, harbor tours, local history, Presidio Park, Monterey, can't read what that is, Monterey scenes. Anywho, a person that was just looking up this general area would be able to have some sort of feeling about the City of Monterey based on their Instagram presence. They're also verified, which is amazing. That's also going to be on the cheat sheet, and they are verified. So yeah, they have a lot of followers too. I'm actually going to pause this really quick and drop that sheet. So this sheet that I'm going to drop is going to go into some of the points that I'm talking about with Instagram accessory apps and all of these great tools that I researched and will help make your life easier as you're going through to trying to put some of these, when you're trying to put some of these tips and tricks into your actual social media presence. So let's get back to business. So one Instagram accessory app that's on the cheat sheet, I'm actually going to drop it right now, is an app called Visco, which can help you achieve a cohesive look on your Instagram. So I am going to put do not disturb on so that nobody bothers me while I'm trying to show you this important information. And I'm going to go ahead. Visco is free, by the way. It's spelled V as in Victor, S as in snake, C as in cat, O as in octopus. Hope you liked that. Okay. So we can see that City of Monterey has a very cohesive color scheme, lots of blues, oceans. You really get the look and the feel of the presence of the area. So now I'm going to show you how I would edit a photo from VSCO or off of VSCO and upload it to my local government site. Just an example. So we're going to wait for my iPhone screen to show up here. Awesome. Celebrating our small wins, right? Okay, so this is a photo that I took in Birmingham, Michigan, which is an affluent, nice area here. Lots of greenery. This photo is pretty representative of the area during the springtime. But let's say, for example, that I was trying to make an Instagram post and my color scheme for my Instagram, I wanted it to be like pinks and oranges, very warm tones. Turning the highlights up here. I'm going to white balance to tint. Temperature. Turn up the saturation and make that squirrel look like he just got back from vacation. And actually, I'm going to make the temperature a little bit. So here we took this beautiful high quality photo and we made it match our Instagram aesthetic. You can see the before and after here. Also, something important to note is that VSCO has pre-made sets that have these sorts of color tones. So no matter what your Instagram's aesthetic is, you can sort of match it based on these color schemes. So for example, City of Monterey is more cooler tones. So that would be something like HB2. You know, I turned up the warmth quite a bit, but here we go. Turning the temperature down, and I made this color now have some blue tones. So you can see you can really manipulate the photos to match your brand presence, and it turns out to be a great thing. Also, a great proponent of social media for local governments is using hashtags. One thing I'm going to say, though, is that I think a lot of people have the idea of quantity of like, if I have 30 hashtags, it's awesome, it's amazing. There are some platforms that hashtags are more beneficial for. That being said, it's about quality over quantity. So making sure that the right keywords are there, which we're going to talk about right now. So this is a platform that I use, and it is really beneficial to have some posts, some hashtags ready for some posts. So this is a website called All Hashtag, which is on the Google Sheet. I'm going to link this, and this will be a link on the on-demand version afterwards. So let's say I am City of Monterey, California, and I want to post something for 4th of July, but I'm like, I don't know what to put for hashtags, and I want to find what's trending in that keyword. 4th of July, search here, click generate. And we watch it load. You can do top, random, live, sort of generate it that way too. And then here you go, there's a plethora of hashtags. Pro tip, I keep a document, a Google Doc, where I have saved hashtags that have worked well before. For example, I could write something like 4th of July and copy and paste these hashtags in there so they're good to go. You still want to check it out to make sure that they're trending at the same year time, but you get the gist. We're going to talk about Meta Business Planner, which is Facebook Business Suite. Facebook Business Suite offers the option for you to post content to go out both at the same time for Facebook and Instagram. It's a really great way for social media managers or whoever is managing the social media to monitor their time and plan out content. Again, that's in the cheat sheet, which I referenced. It's going to be on the side after. And it's also important or best practice to comment, like, and respond to constituent comments. People want to feel seen and heard. Also, a great way to get more followers is to hit that explore button and like and comment on pages that are similar to you. So like and follow other municipalities in the area. That's a way to grow your follower base. Now let's talk about Facebook. So while I was researching for this webinar, one thing that I found is that local governments tend to use Facebook for sort of informative content about disaster alerts. So for example, especially with the past couple of years, there's been a lot of unprecedented events. This would be a great option to have a disaster alert to keep your communities informed if something were to happen. In the cheat sheet, there's instructions on how to pin a post to the top of the page and add a call to action page. So these are all benefits to help your community. Let's circle back for a moment. At the beginning, when I was talking about stakeholders and different stakeholders have different platforms, when we talk about this generations like baby boomers and plus, those generations tend to be on Facebook more often than others. So consider when you're adding call to actions about certain events that Facebook is catered towards that sort of stakeholder. Of course, there's some variation, but generally speaking, another great rule of thumb is for interaction. Interaction is great on all social media platforms. Keyword in social. People want to feel seen and heard. So if somebody is commenting on your posts and they're not receiving a like or a comment back or a response, they might feel like that was for nothing. So keeping the conversation going is always best practice. If somebody else were to see the comment responses, it shows that you're engaged with your community. Also, posting frequently and identifying information is really great for local governments. And now I'm going to show you one of Revize's biggest clients, Facebook, Clark County, who does a great job with social media. So here we can see some of the best practices here, which we'll go over in the next slide. They have a recent cover photo, excuse me. Their profile picture matches the logo that's on their site. Their information for their intro is all here. Anybody that was a resident that wanted to find their information can get it. Now, you don't necessarily have to put your own personal email, but whatever contact email is a great way so that residents that are active on Facebook can reach you. They have a heading that sort of identifies their place. So Clark County is one of the biggest counties in the US, so obviously they made note of it here. They're also super active. So I checked them since I've checked their page earlier today, they posted 3 times. That's excellent. It shows that they're engaged with the community. They're using hashtags frugally, using quality over quantity method, showing a lot of photos. And you can see, no wonder why they have 47,000 followers. So let's go through our checklist. Let's think back to our own local government Facebook pages. Do you have an updated cover photo, or is it one from 2015? Municipalities go through so many changes through the years, whether that's public works projects or construction, and can change the way that they look drastically. So you want to make sure that you're looking your best to constituents. Does your headline on your Facebook reflect what your local government is known for, or is it something pretty basic like just the name of your municipality? Is your contact information filled out thoroughly? Are there pieces missing? And do you post often? If not, it might be time to reconsider or consider updating your Facebook page. Now let's go on to LinkedIn. I'm going to give you a second to read these LinkedIn memes that I found while researching for this webinar. So I'm glad. I hope that it made you smile or laugh. Either way, I don't know. So I hope it did. But it's kind of a cute way both of these memes showcase that LinkedIn is supposed to be very much exaggerated professionalism. And LinkedIn's platform is best used for attracting candidates. In the cheat sheet, there is a lot of information on LinkedIn on statistics and numbers to back up what I'm saying. So let's talk about some LinkedIn best practices for local governments. So first and foremost, LinkedIn is mainly used to attract candidates. And when you're attracting candidates, it's important to keep it short and sweet. So job posts with 150 words or less got candidates to apply 17.8% more frequently than job posts with 400 to 600 words. So we know now that our job postings need to be short and concise. We have to keep it professional. Candidates that were shown an extremely casual job description were 4 times more likely to dislike the employer and 2 to 4 times less likely to apply. So that being said, LinkedIn is just like the memes you reiterated. It is exaggerated professionalism. We want to keep that energy when we're posting. We don't want to use slang or jargon, that sort of thing. Also, candidates want transparency. They want compensation, qualifications, and day-to-day details all lined up so that they don't have to go digging or wasting their time through the job searching process. And our local government example is City of Largo, Florida, which is a great municipality for tons of different reasons. They have a beautiful website. And this job posting shows a short, concise information about what the job is, a call to action with the largo.com/jobs, and a nice image for visual aesthetics. And you can see that they're using hashtags frugally with quality over quantity sort of mindset. And here are some statistics that you can see on the cheat sheet with some of the links that I put there, but we can see that compensation was actually 61%. Most people wanted to see that more than anything. I realize that some people that write job postings may not have the authority to do so. That being said, something might be to consider with this overwhelming statistic of 61%. It might be something to attract qualified candidates. Next, when we're talking about getting people to actually view the application, LinkedIn is that professional network. So people are more active within the week, especially within the early onsets of the week. So Monday is the most active time for constituents, or for employees people searching for employment, and we can see it drops off through the weekend. So entrepreneurs might be on LinkedIn over the weekend, but generally speaking, people are going to be most active during those days. So my advice would be, if you're looking to hire somebody that's qualified and get it reached, post it on Monday. Monday has the most views. Now let's talk about Twitter. So I actually attend lots of municipal conferences, and one that I was at in 2021, 3CMA, had a speaker that worked at Twitter, and a lot of these points sort of regurgitate or reiterate some of the things that she was saying. So some Twitter best practices for local governments: keep your message concise. Nobody wants to read a paragraph. Limit hashtags to 1 to 2 per tweet. So let's do the quality over quantity. You don't have to have 30 hashtags. It also kind of looks ugly if we're speaking candidly. So making sure that we're having 3 hashtags. Include a clear call to action where it's applicable. So have a read more here button, or register here for my webinar. Avoid writing text in all caps. It can seem aggressive. So we talked about how on LinkedIn, that's sort of a professional social media. Twitter can be more playful, in my opinion. So keep a conversational tone, add emojis to add some friendliness. And this example, the woman that worked at Twitter, used this example. So this is the state of New Jersey. They're very active on Twitter. You can see that their profile icon is a very popular pop culture icon, Baby Yoda holding the baby state of New Jersey. And their pinned tweet is a reply tweet to Delaware where they're saying delete your account, which at the time that was a popular thing. People were saying to quote tweets that they disagreed with. So you can see that they're really, on top of pop culture and social media, and they're advocating towards that stakeholder and that platform, because we know that millennials and Gen Zs are on Twitter. And now let's go into Twitter media. So this can also help you stand out for a local government, because people are so often used to just seeing words. If you're adding photos, if you're adding videos, it gets users more engaged. So adding media to a tweet can help you stand out. Make sure to avoid images with heavy text. That's like an ADA compliance thing, which we also have another webinar if you want to check out on our site. Keep videos to 15 seconds or less. People are not going to want to watch a long, cumbersome video. Make sure you have a driving link And also use captions, which is another ADA compliant thing and is just a general good rule of thumb. And we have our local government example, which is a Revize client of Treasure Island saying, perfect day to get some vitamin C. One quality hashtag, emojis, and a beautiful short, less than 15 seconds video. Checklist. Now let's talk about TikTok. So TikTok is a little bit of an interesting thing, especially because it's one of the newest social medias. So we can kind of be intimidated of it. I know that I was when it first came out a little bit before the pandemic started, but let's think back to the stakeholders again. We really want to make sure that we're advocating towards the platform that we're on. So you can see in this data below that 13 to 17-year-olds, 18 to 20-year-olds, 21 to 24, all are on TikTok. So if we're trying to target that stakeholder for whatever social media campaign, it might be the best platform to use. You can use it as a tool to submit important information. You can use trending sounds to reach more people. You can dismantle conceptions about your place or about events, especially in this age of misinformation. And a local gov leading example is the city of Columbus, Ohio. They're super active, one of the most active municipalities that I found during my research. And I'm going to go ahead and share the video that I think is a good example. And I believe it had a lot of likes and views too, so not just me thinking. Okay, let's share that screen. Okay, so let me show you the city of Columbus's TikTok in general. They have 16.2K followers. That's astronomical, especially for this industry. With that being said, too, you can see that they have a lot of views. This here means the number of times that it's been played. This has 7,000 plays. And this is a resident made in response to somebody saying that there's nothing in Columbus, Ohio. So you can see it's a playful way to reach that sort of stakeholder, and it's a chance for you to show what makes your place special. TikTok is a very consumable social media. I think that's why it's so popular, honestly, is because it requires so little attention span. And let's talk about best practices. When we're doing TikToks, it's important to prioritize vertical videos. After all, TikTok is meant to be accessed on the iPhone. So if we're not doing that, it can sort of have a weird outcome. It's important to also limit the video length. So making sure it's short and sweet, like I said before, starting with an impactful visual, making sure the elements are centered, that we have background music, that captions are there, captions, ADA accessibility is super important. And making sure we're including a call to action, whether that be click the link in our bio to view our website or look at our website to sign up for this event, etc. And lastly, is to edit on the iPhone because that's what the app was meant to be accessed on. And we're going to watch a short video from a content creator just showing you the beginnings of the onsets of how to make a TikTok. Like anything, practice makes perfect. When I first started making TikToks, they were awful. Now that I've made it so many times and I've watched videos and tutorials, they get better. So that's what I would advise you to do is, not be intimidated because everybody had to learn it once. Nobody's an expert when they first start something.
Plus sign at the very bottom middle of the screen. And then from there, I have the ability to record. Now, a couple important notes about the sound that you're going to use. I, generally speaking, like to use the sounds from within the app, and you can find those by clicking sounds. And then you can, of course, scroll through until you find the right fit. But because I don't want to get in trouble with copyright, I'm just going to record my own audio. But just know that that's a possibility. Now, when you're recording a TikTok, you can either use the timer, and that's one way to get great transitions. So, for example, I may edit it so that after 4 seconds, it cuts off, and I can do a hands-free video. I'll show you guys what that looks like. Well, let's do about 3.9 seconds. So it's going to give me 3 seconds. And now it's recording, and it's going to record until we hit 3.9 seconds, and then it's going to stop. So that's how you can create the transition videos, which is really awesome, and you can do that over and over again. Otherwise, if you want, you can actually record by either tapping the button at the very bottom and just letting it record until you hit stop or until it runs out of time, or you can hold down the button for little segments. Do it again. Hold down, let go. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can actually record to make the editing process easier. Now, in order to choose...
So I'm not going to play this whole thing. Obviously, it's in the cheat sheet. I'm sure you're tired of me saying that it's in the cheat sheet, but it really is a great resource that I created to gift to you. But YouTube is going to be your best friend, and the internet also is a great resource for figuring out how to navigate TikTok, but it really is simple once you get going. So the bottom line is that social media is incredibly important. After all, people go to college for it and make a living off of it. It's a catalyst for communication and engagement, especially for local governments where communication and engagement are so important for reaching economic development. With a good social media presence, people are going to want to do business with your local government, as well as constituents are going to be proud to be a part of your community. It's also important for local governments to maintain good information of updated information on social media to know why and how stakeholders are receiving their information. And you can contact us at contact@revize.com. And the best way to find some examples of Revize in our government website examples is www.revize.com. We're on all social media. So we're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So this video or webinar will be on demand after as well. And Q&A time. So one of the questions I think was that she says she doesn't have a lot of creative freedom. And so she's wondering how she can lean in that way to her organization, or to get supervisors to be able to post some of those creative things. So what I would say is, in my experience with creativity in social media, is there's kind of a line. So creativity is what drives the world. It makes things enjoyable, entertaining. But with that being said, if you're finding pushback from management or supervisor about the sort of creative things you want to post, what I would do is just find data online, research and statistics that show that perhaps the specific type of creativity you're trying to do performs well. So for example, if you want to post something like a blog about how to make an Instagram reel. We didn't talk about that today, but whatever. If you wanted to post that, and if you researched Instagram reel blogs, local government, etc., you found one, and let's say this municipality has 10K followers where your organization, let's say, has 500. Bringing that to upper management, supervisors, that puts more validity behind it. So always making sure we're backing up our creative efforts with the statistics of people enjoying it, of it bringing more followers and likes, etc. And somebody says, do they need to hire a social media manager? How many hours? So if you don't have somebody that's actively updating your information, I would say definitely go ahead and do that, because it's so important. That's somebody's first impression of you. So really make sure that somebody's updating it, because in reality, if your social media is not updated in a really long time, what it looks like is that nobody's working there, right? And people are working there, but from the outside looking in, that's what people see. So that's why it's important to stay updated on social media. And then Andrew asked if we do Google Analytics. So Revize will actually install Google Analytics for you, and you can monitor it on your own pace. With that being said, that is something we offer. We don't do the social media, but we offer, website services. So we make it beautiful, your websites. And I know that there's other agencies out there though that run government websites, run government agencies, social media. Does anybody have any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining me so much today. I had a blast preparing for this webinar, and thank you for staying and tuning along. Keep up with us on social media for upcoming webinars, and don't be afraid to connect with me on LinkedIn. Bye.